Okay, welcome everybody. So we're doing something new, and the thing that we're doing new is to make sure that this guy doesn't look terrible, because there are a lot of times on the podcast, on like the main podcast, because it goes on the radio, I look like the bad guy, and I want to explain first why I look like the bad guy. I'm doing literally everything. Like, all Liv has to do, all the co-hosts have to do is just show up. Like, that's literally all I have to do. I'm producing. There's all kinds of technology around me. What a lot of people don't know is the show actually comes out on radio too. So yeah, most people know it from the podcast. A few know it from YouTube, but it actually comes out on the radio too. And Liv, have you ever listened to a radio show?
Yeah, yes, I have.
You're old. I mean, they used to just have
how
radio.
we used to get the news. Yeah, it's when we found out when the president won.
Before television, when you would listen to baseball games.
You're the worst. I'm not that old. Oh my gosh. The fireside chats, I remember them.
All these cool hip podcasters are like, oh, we can have as long of a conversation we want, or a shorter conversation. Like, your podcast, it drives me crazy. It's 30 minutes one week, an hour one week, 45 minutes. You know what I have to do?
What?
I have to hit an exact time every week. My show, the content of the show, has to be 53 minutes and 45 seconds to the second, because it goes on the radio. And if it's not that, then either I bump the whole schedule, and like what's supposed to come on at 8 comes on at 8:05, and then everything's wrong, or I'm trying to finish a thought and it just cuts me off, and the next show just starts at 8, which has happened before. So it leads me to situations like you and I found ourselves in on episode 195, the one that we just released, because here we are, and I'm trying to be nice. Like, you love Hamilton, and I'm trying to be nice and have a conversation about Hamilton. I'm trying to let you lead the conversation, because I led the conversation in the first segment, and I was like, Liv knows a lot about Hamilton. Like, I take the Catholic sections because I know about that, and you take the Hamilton sections,
The only reason I'm here is the secular reasons. Thanks, Taylor.
Exactly. Secular and old. Let's see what other words we can find.
Yes, to tell you about the 1800s when I was a wee lass. You're the worst.
So oftentimes it makes me look like a terrible person, because I need to hit time. And like, literally, this is what happened at the end of our last show. We were talking about Hamilton, and then I'm looking at the time, and I'm trying to wrap up the conversation, because I know that we have about a minute left, and shutting you up in a minute is impossible. And then I still have to like say goodbye and all of those things. Like,
be polite.
Right. Well, polite to the audience, but
that's what I meant.
But not polite to you.
We know not to me. Yeah.
Usually it's silly, but there are situations like what happened yesterday or 2 days ago when we were recording, where we're talking about Hamilton. We have 1 minute left. I've made my final point, and I have the whole point of the show is to be like entertaining, and in the last minute, 2 minutes, he's just hit the Catholic connection, right? So I'm trying to make the Catholic connection to all this stuff that I set up with Aaron Burr. And instead of letting me do that, one, you bring up Eliza, and you have this whole spiel. And I hear the beginning of the spiel, and I know you well enough that there was an 8-minute spiel about Eliza. And I have a minute left, and I haven't finished my point yet. It's the one point I was trying to make. And one, you cut me off, which is fine. Like, we're just having a conversation. You're not the bad guy. I look like the bad guy because you're like, let's talk about Eliza and the women, the strong women in Hamilton. And I'm like, no, we're done now.
So, please tell me you got feedback from like the women's movement. I don't know. I can't remember. I was in this.
Not yet. This is us preempting that. This is us preempting that.
I don't know political things. I'm making up words.
Oh, if people wanted to cancel me, they would have canceled me a long time ago.
Or they already have.
They already have.
They're already gone.
I actually don't exist. Liv thinks this is getting posted on YouTube. I've been canceled. This is just us talking.
Oh, he missed me.
I did.
He wants to hear my thoughts on Eliza.
It's the only way people will talk to me anymore. It's like, hey, will you put me on your? I'll talk to you if you publish it and put it on your platform. I'm like, okay. So I just lie.
Nice.
Okay, so that is all the intro to say. Not to say I'm sorry, because there's nothing I can do about it. But to give you the opportunity to talk about women's issues and how much you love Eliza. And yet, like you were like you gave this great thought, and it was one of those things that like internally I was like, I actually really want to hear what you have to say, which is rare because what you said was that it was named that the production's named Hamilton, not Alexander Hamilton, and how there's kind of a play there. Get it? It's a play on words. He's using a play on words, and I just used a play on words about the play. This is super meta.
It's very confusing at this point.
You didn't get any of that because all of your brain cells have died because you've been alive for 180 years.
Right.
Yes.
True.
So now that I've made fun of you, that's going to continue, but I would like to give you the floor. Why did you like the ending and Eliza and the twist, all of those things?
Yeah, no, I really do. I think it's like I didn't realize that it was just named Hamilton really until recently.
You didn't realize that? It wasn't posted anywhere?
I just assumed, What is this Hamilton everyone keeps talking about? Is it about that high school kid on Dear Evan Hansen? So I didn't realize that that's another musical. I didn't realize that he didn't name it Alexander Hamilton. He didn't name it Alexander. Now he spells his name a lot in the film, and he talks about himself a lot. There's a whole song about
Alexander Hamilton.
Your name, kid? Yeah, my name is yeah, exactly. So I think it's really profound that Lin-Manuel Miranda ended up just naming it Hamilton, because I think the true story and the real hero of this entire thing is Eliza, the wife, because Alexander, when I'm going to say Hamilton, I'm going to mean Alexander. Hamilton is a difficult guy. Like from the beginning, he's difficult. And he came from like this horrible beginnings. Like everyone died. He was like alone at 13 and I
was alone at 13 as well, but it wasn't because my family died. I was in junior high and a nerd.
That's why you have these platforms, so people are your friends. We're all your virtual friends.
This is all just making up for all the bullying.
All the bullying, exactly.
I said all the bullying, and I didn't say which way it was going. And we're just going to leave it there.
And now you're a bully. Okay, so like his little town like ships him off to America, and that's a big deal. So there's a lot about Hamilton. Everyone's like, oh, it's about immigration and immigrants, and it is. And it's about the founding fathers, and it is. But I really think the entire point of this entire thing is Eliza and her story. When you watch her story arc, where she starts very young and she falls in love with him, and then he does all this crazy stuff. Talk about a workaholic. It's insane. You wouldn't know what that's like, Taylor, but like that's when people work really, really hard all the time. I'm just kidding.
Like, you literally made fun of me for literally the exact opposite thing on the podcast that we're referencing.
I know.
You're like, you don't know how to rest. All you ever do is work. You got to pick a lane. It's fine to make fun of me, but pick a lane.
It was sarcasm. Jeez.
You know why you can't pick a lane?
Why?
Because that involves driving and women. There you go. I'm canceled again.
He actually means that, by the way. He means that about women. But here's the thing. This whole story, what I'm trying to say, is not really about Eliza being a woman, by the way. It's really about marriage, and the entire theme of this show is forgiveness. Because Alexander lost his son. He was shot and killed, and that was his fault. I'm sorry, but it was. So Eliza could have pieced out then and been like, see you later. You killed my kid, you know? And then he works all the time.
That wasn't how it started. He cheated on her first.
Well, yeah, okay. I was about to get there. And, you know, and so, yeah, exactly. He was such a workaholic that he wouldn't even spend time with his family, but yet he found time to spend some quality time with a lady for 18 months. Like, that's where I would be pissed. Like, okay, the affair thing is like, let's put a pin in that. But he couldn't spend time with the wife and the kids. But I have time for her. I would be like,
well,
wait
okay,
a second.
like I under like it's a bad thing, right?
What? Yes.
It's a bad thing. I'm not going to defend that.
I'm talking about the timing of it. I'm like,
I know, but like I mean,
too busy.
Yeah, he was too busy and he was far away, and like the old classic rock song, which to you was hip and cool back in the day.
I hate
if you can't be with the one you love the one you're with.
Well, I stand corrected. Everyone who has a spouse that leaves on vacay or has to go out of town for work, it's free game according to Taylor Schroll.
No, that's the catechism.
I'll remind Sam. When you're gone, I'll be like, Sam, you know what? be with the one that is around. Like, that's
I
fine.
mean, do you not remember Ludacris?
I
got
love Ludacris.
he's got women in all different area codes.
Of course he
770 and 404.
Well, he's Ludacris. He gets to do those things. No, he doesn't.
I mean, it was Alexander Hamilton. Okay, we're getting way too far down this
we're
joke
so
rabbit
far
hole.
away from the point.
I'm not
So
a
this
fan of
woman-
Hamilton sleeping around. Just to
No,
put
I
it
know
out
you're
there.
not. I know he's against Sam doing it as well. Sam, that's a no. So here's the thing.
Unless she's out of town.
I can't. Are you done? Are you done? If she's out of town, she can sleep with whoever she's with. Is that what you just said,
It was a joke.
Taylor?
Have you ever lied
right.
about being out of town? Like I told somebody once that I was out of town because they asked me if I was in town while I was in College Station. And it was my excuse to not go to that thing because I
You're
was in
like,
Bryan where I live 5
no.
minutes away. Oh, sorry, I was out of town.
Well, you are. You're not actually in College Station. You weren't a liar.
Right.
I validate. But yeah, so I don't know. I just think that the entire thing really is about the end of the show. Like the last 2 minutes of song where everybody wraps up and says what they're doing. I wish they
I
would
like
said,
the play on words there. Wraps up. Good job.
Oh, thanks. So, but it's kind of neat to see where everybody like ended up or whatever. Obviously, you know, well, Hamilton's dead. His kid's dead. Whatever.
I know, they gave that away at the beginning.
They gave it away at the beginning.
Literally in the first
It's
song,
like
it's like, and I'm the man who shot him. It's like, come on.
Dang it. Yeah, but it's like Titanic. You knew how it was going to end. You were like, well, these people are dead. Like, you know, or half of them. Anyway, so, but to hear her whole story and to watch how when she finds out about the affair, which is so horrible, the way that she finds out and the way that it was stuck. Because Hamilton wrote the Reynolds pamphlet or papers. Which one is it? I don't know. Back in my day, it was a treatise. It was on papyrus. So
You remember reading the Federalist Papers as they were coming out.
I signed them. So yeah.
If people weren't sexist back then, you would have been one of the founding members, but you weren't a father,
Absolutely.
so you weren't allowed.
Right. So I was just walking around to see who was alone, you know, working for the
as
holiday.
long as they were out of town.
As long as their spouse was out of town. That's what I did for our town. You're the worst. Anyway, these are all jokes, everybody, by the way, all jokes. So anyway, yeah, so she gets to read in the detail, because he wrote in tremendous detail what he did with this woman and where and how, and published it. And so imagine that. I mean, on one hand, I'm like, well, I mean, he owned it. I have a problem with people not having accountability for their stuff. Not that everybody needs to go around telling their mortal sins. Like, that is not what I believe in.
It was this weird thing. It was like, all right, you've been confronted, Alexander. Yeah. You can either tell the world that a lie and say that you took $300 from the government, or you can say you cheated on your wife and wreck your life. Which would you choose? You're like, all about my business reputation. What a jerk.
Total jerk. But he did develop the country's financial system, so maybe he thought, they might lose more faith in me if I go with the whole stealing the money thing. I don't know. But whatever, he did it. And poor Liza, and you know, and you watch her burn letters that he wrote her, and you watch her cry, and that scene is hard.
Yeah, it felt very Taylor Swift to me.
I actually like her rendition better on the CD. But anyway, so but then
wait.
What?
You own a CD?
The album.
You own an album?
The MP3. What do I say? I listened to it on Spotify. Is that good? Do I at least look like I live in the century? You're the worst.
Look or sound.
Yeah. So I don't know, but like at the end when he's in the garden and he's like so broken up and their kid's dead and I think that's actually when it happens, right? Because the kid dies and then she extends her hand to him, and that's when you see them hold hands and you know that she's gonna forgive him. And fine, which listen, you're married. Okay, actually, we're talking to Sam's married to you, so we know that she understands the handing of a gift of forgiveness, of extending an olive branch. No, I'm guessing you've had to forgive her a few times.
One time she gave me an olive branch. I'm like, what the hell is this gonna do? I don't want a branch. I want you to love me.
That's all Taylor wants, you guys. As much as he seems mean, all he wants at the end of the day, he wants love. He just wants to be loved.
No, I just don't want branches.
That's awesome. So yeah, I mean, you see her extend that, which in any marriage, that's gonna happen from both spouses. But of course, what she's having to extend is a little bit more than what most everybody has to do. I mean, that's really extraordinary. I've never even heard of an affair going on for 18 months. That's a long time. You know, I've heard of lots of mistakes and things happen, sure, but that's like you were committed, you know what I mean? And then, you know, their kid died. So, and then he goes off and he gets himself killed. And he does it in the same way. And it's not like he stopped working. And so she has a choice. And she never got remarried. And you hear all the beautiful things she does with her life. And you hear her grieve about losing him. And you could easily have a human moment and be like, well, got rid of that guy. You know, she's done. It was only till death. So she's free.
Yeah,
go get
till
burned.
death. So now I could go to any town I want.
Yeah, right? Walk around, see what men folk are lonely. Yeah, I mean, she could have Reynolds the situation, but she didn't. So, you know, and she talks about him and loving him and all that kind of stuff. And then she starts the first private orphanage in New York because her husband was an orphan. And she says that she sees these children, and you hear the children that she saved, literally saved children. Like, I've sent money to like Sally Struthers, and I assume she gave it to children, but like I've never
I don't know who that is.
Saved a child. I'm trying to put the whole thing for you. I'm trying to make your dreams come true. That was from a long time ago, back in like the 80s, 90s. Sally Struthers would get on TV and ask you for money.
Anyway, I was really confused about why you were saying my dreams.
It wasn't
you
for
were going to
you.
make my dreams coming true.
It's for my listeners. It's for the ones in the senior citizen homes that are listening.
Good.
So anyway, it's amazing. And she was the reason why the Washington Monument actually got erected in Washington.
Oh, come on.
Well,
Washington Monument is the strangest thing in the world.
It is.
Have you ever seen
really is.
Looks more like a monument to Bill Clinton. What is that from? That Ahmed the Dead Terrorist. Good times.
That's amazing. Yeah, it is very. I don't get obelisks things. I don't know.
Look, when you look upon this, you will remember George Washington.
Big white stick in the sky. Yes. That's what I think of. But yeah, but she was a part of it. So, I mean, she's why it's there. So I just think she's extraordinary. And she lived 50 years without her husband. 50 years. She died like in her 90s.
I wonder if George Washington was alive when no, he wasn't. He was dead already.
He was gone.
Imagine him being alive and being like, you know, he was a humble guy. Like, he stepped away from all the power. Like, he's known for his humility. But like, imagine him looking at the architectural plans for his monument, just be like, what the hell? After all the stuff I did, this is what I get.
However, I would make the argument there is nothing worse than a bad bust or, you know, like a face for like a sculpture. I took a picture of one of Nicole Kidman when I was outside SiriusXM Studios on Avenue 6 or whatever, New York City. It was so horrendous. It's awful. It didn't look like Cole. The one they have of Melania Trump is so hideous. There was that one of that like really famous like sports guy or whatever, remember? And it was like in bronze and gold, and then they showed it. It was like horrifying.
Yeah.
So maybe
the only
Washington
reason you feel this way,
yes.
the only reason you feel this way is
we
because
didn't have
one
photographs
time,
back then?
no,
Is that
someone
why?
someone sculpted you, and it
Oh,
looked
yeah.
exactly like you, and you were like, "That's hideous."
Yes, because someone was like, sure, I'll take the time. There's not that much clay. So anyway, yeah. So maybe white sticks are the way to go. Also, maybe it's less offensive. I don't know. Just puts it out there.
All right, I gave you 8 minutes, and it's been 30. Anything else you'd like to say about Eliza? This is why I have to cut you off on the show. It wasn't my intention, but this is just really me proving my point.
I said everything I already said. I said all this on your show.
No,
I love her. I think the show's about her. I think Hamilton actually
all.
means Eliza.
Well, good for
I
you.
do. Hashtag Eliza Tour. That's what everybody uses.
I think it was great. I really liked that ending.
Yeah, it's a great ending.
Yeah, like especially like not only like there's two types of there's a lot of levels of forgiveness, but I'm thinking of like two main ones, right? Like the fact that she was able to forgive him after she did like the worst thing a spouse can do to another, right? And then their son died, and he was involved in that, right? Like it's just like the amount of forgiveness she had. Like that would have been enough. Like I there's that old prayer, like, you know, God, that would have been enough. If you would have just done this, it would have been enough. If you would have just done this, it would have been enough. And if she would have just forgave him, it would have been enough. But
Right.
not only did she forgive him, she continued his legacy and furthered his legacy. And that is just a whole nother level of forgiveness. I just got goose pimples. Goose pimples.
Whoa, he has
Look at that.
feelings, everybody.
I do.
Look at that.
I think the AC just turned on. So that level of
Lord.
forgiveness was just very,
Yeah,
very
it's
inspiring.
extraordinary.
So-
Well, and she stayed married to him. You can still forgive people and then cut them out of your life. You know what I mean? It's not like she had to stay married.
That's what
to
I
him.
do.
I know. I mean, I just think I think you're right. I think the level is just incredible. But you're right. The extension of his legacy, because who wouldn't then be like, P.S. everybody, let me tell you about my husband. You know, like go and tell. And she didn't. She did the complete opposite. And she always, I mean, like, you know, our jobs as spouses is to get our spouse to heaven. And I think she continued to do that even when he wasn't on this earth. And I think
I
that's
think there were
phenomenal.
multiple times she wanted to get him to heaven very quickly.
And there we go.
That's it, everybody. This is our follow-up
That's it.
conversation from the Forte Catholic Podcast, episode 195, where I cut off Liv before she could talk about women's issues. Fantastic. This is it. Thanks for watching. God bless you. And God bless the USA. And God bless Olivia Harris. Goodbye.